Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And I want to do another what I've been watching lately because there's been a bunch of movies I've seen lately that I definitely want to start talking about on my channel, giving some of my reviews on them. So stay tuned to hear what those are here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well here on a Saturday night. Getting to Christmas season, and tomorrow, in fact, on my channel, I'm gonna have Briar and Adam on. We're gonna talk about our 5 favorite Christmas songs. And I'll try to dress a little more festive for that one. Yeah, so definitely get into the Christmas season now, but it's also a season of when all the big movies are starting to come out and stuff I'm trying to catch up on, and so much stuff I need to catch up on before the end of the year. So I've been watching quite a bit lately. And I even went to the movie theater today to watch a movie just so I saw it this year and can put it on my list. Anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna talk about a couple movies that I saw recently. And the first one I'm gonna talk about the movie I just saw today in the theater, which was Godzilla Minus One. And I was not planning on seeing this in the theater, and it really was because the reviews were so good for it. People were talking about it being like one of the best movies of the year. So then I thought, well, it seems everybody's so excited about it, might as well go out and check it out and see if it makes it into my like top 10 favorite movies list or something like that. I know Elliot from IMO Reviews gave this a 10 out of 10. He says it's one of his favorite movies of the year. Mike from Did You See That? He saw it recently and it was one of his favorite movies of the year. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go watch this movie. And I watched it and I was bored to tears. I cannot say I felt the same way as most people did on this movie as Mike and Elliot. I'm sorry, I feel differently about this. I fell asleep a couple times during the movie. I was just not into it. And I can't say like I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I'm okay on Godzilla. Like I watched some of the Godzilla movies, and I don't think I've given any of them positive reviews, to be honest. Though I like the idea of this big creature going around destroying stuff and what do you do? There's some interesting ideas there. This definitely seemed like more of a old school style Godzilla type film. I mean, because it all takes place in Japan, and Godzilla shows up and just starts wreaking havoc, and they got to figure out how to kill it. So definitely very different from the newer style, and even Godzilla himself has more of an old school style of design compared to the new stuff. Anyway, but to call this a Godzilla movie, it seems to be a disservice to the movie. It feels like Godzilla is barely in the movie. He shows up quickly and then he's gone, and then he shows up again, and then he's gone, and then they have kind of a final battle at the end. So it feels like I wonder if you put how many minutes he's in this movie. He's in the movie, less than 10 minutes of the movie, maybe he shows up or something. I don't know, maybe more. I'm exaggerating there, but it just feels like he's barely in the movie. And the movie's really about a Japanese World War II soldier coming home from, dealing with, World War II. Plus he saw Godzilla as well. And so he's got a lot of PTSD. So a lot of the movies dealing with him and kind of this new family that he kind of adopts. And kind of what he goes through, and yeah, lots of nightmares, and he's just hasn't gone over the war and all that. So it's really a coming home PTSD movie more than a Godzilla movie, which is interesting. But I don't know, I just found those scenes to be when Godzilla wasn't on the screen, I was just really bored with the storyline, even though I understand what it's going for. It's definitely a movie. Again, it's all in Japanese. It's a foreign film. All takes place in Japan. So it's definitely about, Japan getting over the war, which is much different than America getting over the war. I understand. So I don't quite understand, I don't get all the emotional feelings of it because I don't know what that's like for Japan. But I can understand that would be very emotional. Japan was wrecked pretty badly. Of course, got 2 atomic bombs dropped on it as well, besides losing the war. And they're going through a lot of changes through the government was changing at that point, and hopefully getting a better government, of course, and fixing all the problems they had before. So it's a lot about that, a changing Japanese society. And then, of course, the fictional part is this Godzilla's huge dinosaur thing coming out of the water and just wreaking havoc for no reason. I don't know why Godzilla does what he does. It seems to be no motivation except He just likes killing people and destroying things. But he comes out and then they got to deal with that. And so dealing with Godzilla is kind of them dealing with the war, I guess. And there's somewhat a redemption story for the main Japanese character, as he was a kamikaze pilot who didn't kill himself, and which is one of the problems with Japan at the time, is this idea that it's okay to kill yourself to take out the enemy. And it's kind of idea of like maybe, and there's kind of that idea throughout the thing, like is he going to try to kill himself in order to kill Godzilla? Will he make that choice? Will he, be, and it almost feels like he's a coward because he wouldn't kill himself, which to me is like, as American, you're like, that didn't make any sense. I'm for the whole idea of not killing yourself, even if it kills other people, your enemy, and all that. But that idea goes throughout the whole movie. And so there's somewhat this redemption arc for the character who tries to, he's somewhat disgraced after the war and tries to get his honor back, which is, again, another Japanese thing, not an American type idea. And I don't know, to me, I mean, it was a nice idea, I guess, but just as a movie, it was just super boring, I guess. And I just couldn't, I wanted to leave. I was in the theater and I hardly ever go to the movie theater, and here I am in the movie theater and I'm just so bored. I'm falling asleep. I'm thinking, gosh, I just want to go home. I love being at home where I can control what I'm watching instead I'm watching this movie. Anyway, so that was my feeling. It felt like I was being tortured in somewhat. I will say the very end is really good though. Like when they get to that final battle with Godzilla and how that all transpires, still it takes a long time to get there, but there's some good moments, and even the very end, it's a little cheesy. I would say it's a little too cheesy at the end, yet I kind of get like okay, the character finally finds peace, and that's a good thing, but yet it's a little ridiculous, some of the things that happen. Anyways, overall, I did not like this movie, Godzilla Minus One. I give it 2 stars out of 5. A strong not recommend for me. Even the ending was pretty good. I just can't get over all the boredom I got before that time period. Anyway, so that was my thoughts on Godzilla Minus One. Another movie similar, and not in the style, but in my review is going to be, let's see if I can remember the name right exactly. Killers of the Flower Moon, I believe it's called. This is the Martin Scorsese film. It's a very big Oscar buzz movie, getting nominated for all the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and all this. And it's one that was hyped up long ago when we're getting up to that. When the movie came out, everybody was talking about, oh, this is going to be a big movie. And I knew I was not going to like it, but I watched it because I knew it was like a big movie of the year. And again, it was just incredibly boring, very long movie. It's 3.5 hours. And so when I saw 3.5 hours, and Martin Scorsese makes so many boring movies, I am not a Martin Scorsese fan. I think he's a very boring director. Irishman was such a chore to get through. I really didn't like that. Silence was a real chore to get through. I don't know. He's just not my kind of director. And this was kind of a similar movie. Yeah, I was just extremely bored. I just saw this a couple days ago on like video on demand. And the story about it's based on a true story, I think, off of a book. These Native Americans who, and this is in the 1930s, I think, or something like that. These Native Americans strike oil on their land, and so they have a lot of money. And so then, of course, trying not to spoil too much, but you got Robert De Niro, who's like kind of this wealthy landowner who's trying to take their land. So he's kind of scheming this whole thing of like how to take their land, but he has to like kill certain members until one has all the land and then get the land from them. And it's all kind of this, land grab because the land has, oil on it. And so he's trying to get that land. So that's the basic story. It's a very simple story, to be honest. It doesn't need to be 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours is so long. Oh my gosh, it's so long. And it's so slow moving. I mean, there's so many scenes where people are just sitting there doing nothing and having these very long, drawn out conversations with lots of pauses. That takes a scene that should take, 1 minute, takes 10 minutes. It's all that kind of stuff. It's like, in Martin Scorsese, he doesn't know how to make a short movie. He doesn't know how to edit. All his movies are freaking long. He doesn't know how to make a movie less than 3 hours, I don't think. To him, he feels like it's not a movie unless it's 3 hours long. And I want to say, Scorsese, you can make good movies that are 2 hours long, that are an hour and a half long. and keep the interest of the audience. But even 3 hours is long, and this is 3.5 hours. I mean, it's even 30 more minutes longer than it should be. I mean, this is an hour and a half longer than it should be. You can cut out a whole movie out of this thing, and it'd at least be 2 hours. That could still be a boring movie, but at least I can get through it a little quicker. I mean, I will say the performances are really good though, and there are some interesting stuff maybe happening there. Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, actually gives a really good performance here. It's very subtle for most of the movie. And then at the end, they have this whole court trial thing because they're finally. It's like you're like 2 hours in the movie, and finally the FBI come in and are like, "Hey, we're gonna investigate all these murders that are happening throughout the movie." And you're like, "Okay, finally, like the FBI's come in here and we're starting some kind of investigation." And then the last hour and a half is all about the investigation, about the trial, and who's responsible. And DiCaprio gives some really good performances there towards the end where I was like, okay, DiCaprio definitely deserves the Best Actor. Lily Gladstone does a very good job in the lead female role as Molly. De Niro's fine, he's always solid, in his role. A lot of good, actually, it's funny, you get towards the end and all of a sudden Brendan Fraser shows up and you're like, he's in it for like 10 minutes. You're like, last year's Oscar winner is all of a sudden a lawyer, and you're like, wow, I can't believe he's in here. Like, and he shows up for 10 minutes. It's a lot of crazy stuff like that, but actually a pretty good cast. But yeah, performance was good. There's, some intrigue because there's a murder mystery. I think the movie could have been interesting. It was all about the murder mystery part and the investigation part, which takes so long to get to. But if the movie was just about the investigation, it would have been much more interesting. And if it was more about the FBI investigating and not concentrating on DiCaprio's role, which to me was a boring character and who cares character who's kind of tangled up in this whole scheme, kind of almost a pawn in the scheme in some senses. And he's really not a good person. He's a very unlikable guy. In fact, it's funny, you get to but yeah, he does some good things too. Like, he seems like he really does love his wife. He does love his children. So there's like some good qualities in there. But then when you get to the end, you kind of, after the end, when you get into the trial and you kind of just think about all the stuff he's done throughout the movie, you think, this guy's a real scumbag. And he's our main character. So it's like, why am I following a scumbag throughout this movie? I'd rather follow somebody good who does something good at the end, not someone who does something bad. I don't know. So I hate that when they make the main character somebody I don't care about. And that's what kind of really hurts the movie for me, is Leonardo DiCaprio's character is really not a good person and not likable and all this. And so, I don't know. In the trial, it takes forever. And at the end, it's like, okay, the people that we knew were guilty get to be guilty. And it's like, yeah, I knew they were guilty like 10 minutes into the movie. And 3.5 hours later, we're finally going, oh, they're guilty, and they went to prison. That's the end. It's like, geez Louise, like, it had to be 3.5 hours to get to that conclusion that I knew 10 minutes in. It felt like it was just drawing out something we already knew was going to happen. And then it happens, and it's like, okay, that's the end. Like, what was the whole point of that? Who cares? Everybody that should have gone to jail goes to jail, and it's very sad because all these people got murdered throughout the whole movie, so nobody's happy. It's not a happy ending. It's not an interesting story to me. I don't know. It was just a nothing movie for me. I'm still giving it 2 stars because of the acting and because there are a couple interesting scenes in the movie. I'm willing to give it 2 stars out of 5 instead of 1 star, but definitely one I would never see again. Killers of the Flower Moon, the big Oscar winner, of course. Or not winner, but possible winner. The next movie, and probably the last movie I'll talk about here, I want to talk about another big movie that came out earlier, and that is Oppenheimer. Obviously, one of the biggest movies of the year, huge box office, maybe one of the biggest box office movies for a radar movie. And it was part of the whole Barbie-Heimer phenomenon that happened this last, I don't know, summer or whatever when that happened. And so I did watch Oppenheimer a couple weeks ago. I finally got around to watching that, and it's definitely very hyped up. Again, it's getting a lot of award consideration. I think it might even be a front runner to win Best Picture right now. We'll see. And it's got Christopher Nolan behind it, who's a very popular director. And this movie was advertised for a long time. It seems like it had a really good advertisement campaign, which I think helped the movie do so well. And I will say, like, the movie was fine. Like, I liked it okay. Again, it's 3 hours long. It seems way too long of a movie. Christopher Nolan's another director who bores me with his movies. Like, Tenet was horrible. Interstellar was incredibly boring. Dunkirk was incredibly boring. But then I love Inception and I love Batman Begins. I think those are absolutely excellent movies. So it's like he has potential to be good, but most of the time Christopher Nolan is just one of my least favorite directors out there. But yet he's really well beloved by audiences, and by the Academy likes to nominate him, I think, or like to nominate his movies. So he's definitely kind of I think probably will be an award darling this year. And it might be his time to win, in fact, because he's so well liked anyways. In saying that, this movie, it's a little too long at 3 hours, but yet I wouldn't say it was like a real boring movie. I was kept interested for the most part. And so they did a lot better. This movie is one of the better Christopher Nolan movies I've seen in a long time, to be honest. A lot better than those other movies I watched. I actually kind of kept paying attention to this one. And it's a very interesting subject. The best thing about this movie is the subject matter is so interesting. Oppenheimer, who helps develop the atom bomb, and that's such a incredible moment. I don't know if that's the right word, or an important event in human history. It changed the world. I mean, once we came up with the atom bomb, the nuclear bomb, and then used it on a country, that changed warfare forever. And also that's why we got the Cold War. That's why we were, to this day, still scared of getting hit from a nuclear weapon from a different country. It's the way we wage war is different. I mean, I can't imagine the world before that and then the world afterwards. It's just a total different mindset. So, I mean, the event of doing that, it's such an astronomical big event that I love the idea of, kind of seeing how that came about. And that was very interesting. I really loved all that stuff. I think the performances were really good here. Cillian Murphy is an actor I thought has been really good for a long time. In fact, Batman Begins is the first movie I saw him, and I was like, he played Scarecrow, whatever. And I remember seeing that going, who's this actor? He is so good at this character. And then I'd see him in a couple of stuff here and there. And every time I saw him, I was like, man, this guy is so good. He's just usually doing supporting roles. So when he got the lead role, I was like, oh, this is finally Cillian Murphy's shot to be, get an Oscar nomination. He's definitely going to get one. I think he could even win. I kind of hope he wins, because I wouldn't say this is my favorite Cillian Murphy performance still. It's a very good performance from him. He really carries the movie and, does a really good job there. Also, Robert Downey Jr. is another actor I absolutely love. His Iron Man is so good throughout all the Avenger movies. He put in so much good work, and I don't think he gets recognized enough for it. So I'm really happy he's going to get an Oscar nomination, I think, for this role. And I'd love for him to win, too. I think he did a really good job here as well. Though I would say I still like his Tony Stark better than even this role. But still, it's so good to see him there. So all the scenes dealing with developing that bomb, Matt Damon was great in his part. There's a lot of good, actually pretty good cast. Emily Blunt, was good. But the whole scenes where they're dealing with the atom bomb was definitely the best part of the movie. And there's something about watching really smart people in a room talk about, solving a problem. There's something about that I absolutely love. I love when there's, in a movie or a TV show, smart people are solving a problem. And even though I don't understand science, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know what they're talking about, but yet I'm just like totally interested that they're, able to figure all this out. And so I do love those scenes, actually, when they're in there. And this is obviously a very dialogue-heavy movie. It's a lot of the scenes are people in a room talking, and sometimes that gets a little tiring if you keep watching people. Okay, now they're in this room talking. Now they're in this room talking, and so it doesn't feel like you get a lot of movement in the movie. That hurts the movie a little bit, maybe, but still, I do love a lot of the stuff, like I said, around the atom bomb. The parts I don't like is that it keeps going back and forth through that, him developing the atom bomb, and then it goes through like this whole hearing that happens afterwards, where Robert Downey Jr.'s Senator Strauss, I think his name is trying to get Oppenheimer's security, security privileges like taken away or something like that, and trying to ruin his reputation anyway. So there's a lot of scenes where he's kind of being interrogated, or he's being questioned about his, is he a communist, and stuff like that. Those scenes I did not care for at all. And there's even parts where Robert Downey Jr.'s character is being questioned in a Senate hearing, and like I didn't really care for those scenes. Those scenes I could do without. If they could have taken all those scenes out and we just dealt with him developing the atom bomb, I think it'd been a much better movie, and I would have liked it more. And it was this weird thing where almost every time they had Robert Downey Jr. in the movie went black and white. It was colored and then it's black and white. And there must be a reason that I don't understand why and someone in the comments maybe will tell me, why did they have to go black and white when Robert Downey Jr. was in a scene? I don't know. It was weird. Every time we had to go between black and white to color, and it's like, okay, just stick with one type, you know. Yeah, I'd say that's the major negatives of the movie. And again, and also it hurts that Oppenheimer was not a likable character. He was a bit of a jerk, not jerk, I should say, but he was a bit of a womanizer at times. Didn't have a great relationship with his wife, it didn't seem like. And I don't know if he was kind of quiet and reserved, I guess. And I don't know if he was just like the greatest character, but obviously he's based off a real person. So I'd love to see a documentary on Oppenheimer and get a little more information about who he was and how that relates to this movie. That'd be kind of cool. But overall, I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars, which is a light recommend. I still say this was not a bad movie. There's a lot of good stuff here. Obviously, like I said, being such a long movie and all the other stuff going on, too much stuff going on. Also, there's too many characters, it felt like, and I didn't understand who was who. They kept talking about Dr. So-and-so, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. And maybe someone shows up, and I'm like, I don't know who that person is. And they act like they're important, but I'm like, I don't know who that is. There's just too many characters, too many names thrown out that I'm like, I don't know who that name is and what's their importance and connection to everything, you know. There's only a couple characters I really focused on for me in the movie, so I thought that was something. Anyways, but yeah, overall, it was an okay movie, worth a watch if you find it on streaming or something like that. I think if you haven't seen it already, definitely want to check out just because it's very interesting information in there. I think that I'm kind of glad they made something about that. Because that's a very interesting moment in human history anyway. So yeah, so I'm giving that the best review of this. So far, it's kind of 2 really bad reviews, 1 okay review. So nothing I'm totally in love with so far that I've seen lately, but I have some more stuff I'll talk about later anyways. But yeah, that's all I got time for this video. Please comment what you think about these 3 movies, what you feel about them. I know some of you will talk about you loved Godzilla Minus One. That's fine. Glad you loved it. But yeah, comment, love to read them. And just thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. And thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good day.